My delivery story is definitely a story for another day.
So it's been 5 months since I had my baby girl, and I've been wanting to tell this story, but I have not been able to come to that place, or that place of emotional strength to pull myself together to sit down and talk about it. I've only shared this with a few members of my family. So I've had two children. This story is about my third child. So the first child I had was a vaginal birth. The second one was a C-section, and this third one was a vaginal birth after a C-section. So they call it VBAC birth, right? I nearly died having this child. This has been 5 months going. I thought to eventually get it out of my head and mind, and just put it out there for anybody to learn from my experience, and mainly to create awareness. Whatever it is in the course of this video you can pick up to share with someone or to know for yourself, please pick up. So I had this baby during the pandemic when hospitals were closed, like full time. You're not allowed to come with someone aside just one person, one birthing partner to stay with you, either your mom or your spouse. So I have two other children. I'm not able to come with anyone. I live in a foreign country, so I don't have my parents around. I don't have that luxury of family members, siblings and all. So it's just I and my spouse. So being that I have two older children who need to be attended to, who are toddlers, 2 years and 3 years, thereabout, they had to be attended to by someone at home. So apparently I was the only one who went to give birth to my child. When I got to the hospital, this hospital is the Newham Hospital, on this particular fateful day, after the normal booking in protocol has been observed, I was taken to this room. And then I got induced because there was a condition. This is also another story for another day. The reason why I was induced at 38 weeks, because normally they get to offer you induction past 40 weeks, which is the full-time due date. But I was induced at 38 weeks due to certain concern they had about the baby I was pregnant with, which I said is a story for another day. So after the the booking me in to be induced, I was in my room. So while I was in the room, everything was set up, and I kept feeling uneasy because I was alone in the ward and everywhere seemed cold. I'd never experienced that level of coldness before. But being a Christian, I had my hopes in God, and I committed everything to the hands of God that I'll be fine, trusting you, Lord. So the medical team came in and got me induced. I was in there with the induction medication, and I'll also add that I was induced without epidural. And if you know anything about delivery, essentially getting induced is more painful than having to go into labor naturally. So I was there in this pain, groaning and groaning and groaning. It was so excruciating. Plus I've heard several, from the reviews of the hospital, I've heard several scary stories, a little kind of scary, I'll say, based on the reviews online about this hospital, about how nonchalant they can be. Just a little tip of how nonchalant they can be. Sometime last month, I was having this bleeding, and I rushed down to the hospital for them to check what's going on, only for them to tell me, after conducting some pregnancy tests they said they did, I gave them my urine sample and all, and then they came back to tell me I'm pregnant, whereas mistakenly it was someone else's result they announced to me. They gave someone else my result and gave me someone else's result. This is just a little background information, you can imagine. So moving on, with my birth and delivery story. So it was excruciating. I was in pain. There was nobody to cry to, nobody to encourage me. No, I was just alone by myself. The few medical staffs were just coming in and going out, and I kept crying and begging them, please help me with medication. And all they could give me was paracetamol for one who was induced. Okay. And being that I was by myself, if I had a family member with me, apparently they would have talked to them that, look, what medication can you help this lady with? What can you do to help her feel better? Because this pain, obviously, one can die from terrible pain, especially if your body is not able to carry it any longer, especially in the case of childbirth. But I kept on, I kept pressing on, I kept holding on. At this point, I couldn't feel the environment I was at. It's like I was out of my present state. It was like I was somewhere else. I was soaked in pain. Never felt this kind of pain all my life, even for my 2 previous deliveries. And the painful part, nobody knows how I was feeling. Nobody was close to experience it with me. So I was all by myself amidst the fear of, if anything happens to me right now, these people are going to tell any kind of story from the top of the page of the book and sell it out to whoever, and there will be no one to verify, and that's it. I was all by myself for 4 to 5 hours on a stretch without anyone coming to check. The last time anybody checked was just to check the baby's heartbeat, which they said was fine, and I was left by myself, groaning in pains with no form of anesthesia, with the induction medication taking the best of my body. I couldn't deal no more. I had to lay down somewhere on the bed they gave to me. I don't know how long this pain is gonna be for, but I just hope it doesn't, things are just progressing, so this entire pain will be worth it at the end of the day. I was groaning in pains. I was in excruciating pains, and all I had at the back of my head is, if I lose my life here, how and who will take care of my young ones? I've got 2 young ones back at home who said bye-bye to me, that mom is going to bring a baby, only for me to finish up my life here, and they don't see me no more. What about the baby? How will my spouse cope? How will life be going forward? Because at that point I wasn't bothered. I'd given up on whether I was going to survive or not. I'd literally given up on myself, in terms of my ability to withstand this pain, in terms of my ability to carry on trying to birth this child. All that was in my head at that point is, how will those I was going to be leaving behind cope? So while I was in my bed, I kept having this pulling pain that I couldn't explain. It was pulling down there, and at the time I didn't know what was pulling. I didn't understand what, because I'm going through series of pains from the induction, from the medication, so I don't know what exactly is going on. I don't know whether to push. I don't know whether I'm doing things right. I don't know, considering the fact that the last pregnancy I had before this one, the last delivery I had before this one, was a C-section. My first baby was via induction, but it was I had epidural, so I wasn't really feeling it that much. So this was my first raw experience at labor pains, induced labor pain. So that's labor pains times 10 without any form of anesthesia. I didn't know that all of this pulling pain was my baby pushing down. By reflex, my body was pushing, but I didn't know I was pushing. I didn't know I was in active labor, because the last time they came and checked, they said I was just about 2 centimeters dilated. So they left me for hours, and they were all, minding their business. So all of those while, at this point now, it was pushing and pulling. Remember, as at now, I've been in active labor. I got the induction medication 3:30 p.m. the previous day. This is next day at about 5:30 a.m.
I don't know exactly how to stay. So right now I've been induced for over 9 hours. The induction medication went inside of me since I think about 10 minutes before 4, and this is currently 1:30 a.m. I've had painkillers. The pains kept intensifying. Initially I was even complaining that are they sure they wouldn't have to top up.
So I've been in severe pains starting from midnight till this particular point, because the induction medication began to get active in my body after it was inserted at that 3:30 p.m. See, at about say 5 hours later, that was when I began to feel the deep pain of the induction. So since I noticed I've been having this pulling pressure from my anal muscle, I had to put myself quietly on the bed and I said, whatever is happening with me, let it just go ahead and happen. I just held on to this bed, the bed frame. I was so, and every time I feel that pain, my body goes, this is not me doing this, it's just my body doing it. So it was happening, say every 2 minutes. I just feel this anal pressure. With the pressure, massive head, back, side headache, pain, everything you can imagine painful. And while I was there, a nurse was coming in to I don't know what she was coming in to do, because I've been left by myself for the longest time. I guess she probably came to check the baby's heartbeat to see if everything was fine. Only for her to come in, I was shocked. She rushed towards the bed where I was pressing the buzzer, calling on to others, then look at the baby's hair, the baby's hair. So apparently even I myself didn't know my baby was out already. I couldn't see, my eyes were closed. I was just like a dying cow, when like I don't know how else to explain. It was just like I was living my last moments in life. In the midst of my pains, in the midst of it all, I could just hear her faint voice screaming, the baby's here, the baby's here. And I kept going right there where I was on the bed. Apparently my baby was already out. My baby's head was out, so I was trying to, I guess, push out the body. Eventually, when her other colleagues came in, you know what they were screaming, oh, that was so fast, oh, she was just about 2 centimeters dilated. That was when they brought their hands together and assisted in delivering my baby. So if she hadn't come in when she did, and I kept on pushing, considering the position I was, because I was just at the edge of the bed, the baby would eventually have pushed out, because apparently I was having contractions, apparently I was in active labor, apparently I was pushing, apparently the baby too was struggling to come out. So if she hadn't come when she did, and I kept on pushing, the baby would have rolled out with the umbilical cord, with everything apparently on the floor, because I was just at the edge of the bed. Nobody to tell me what to do. Nobody was seen down there, because I wasn't even looking myself. I was passed out. My baby would have dropped and definitely lost her life, and me too will have lost my life. Who knows what will have happened. So when eventually she had to ask me to pull back into the bed, so there is space for the baby when the baby's body comes out and all. The baby's body came out eventually, and they were there mumbling the foolish, unprofessional shock they were presenting there. I was just looking at them like, the awareness that I'm still alive began to come back to me, come back to my senses, and all I was then was grateful. I was totally grateful, because if anything had happened to me there, I wouldn't be the first. So many other persons have lost their lives in the same vein, and Nothing came out of it. Life moved on. And that's not even where it ended. Okay, after the baby's out now, expectedly the placenta is next to be delivered. Normally, after it's said that at about 15 minutes after the baby delivery, the placenta comes out. They tried to get the placenta out, it wasn't coming out. They gave me an injection to help eject the placenta. It didn't come out. As the placenta couldn't come out, I had to be rushed to theater. When I heard I was gonna be taken to theater, I'm like, for real? What's going on? Eventually they had to wheel me with my baby to the theater. So they kept my baby on one side, and then they had to surgically get out the placenta, literally scrape it out of my uterus. The highlights of this story is when it comes to childbirth and delivery, it's one of the most sensitive situations in life that if you must go through this, one needs to have everything they need, everything possible, because it's just a tiny line between life and death when it comes to childbirth. It's just this tiny. Every resource necessary to save a woman and a child's life should be made available. And to hospital staffs out there, I'll say, please, 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 when it comes to childbirth and women, I know they're gonna say they see childbirth every day, and probably that's why they get to take these things for granted and say it normal. But they should realize, or you all should realize, that every individual delivery you all are handling are individual lives, are people's children, are people's mothers, are people's spouses. These are human beings. These are people's loved ones that they can't afford to lose. They can't afford not to have in this life. And given that we are in a civilized world, that all that you need in terms of resources to work and help save these lives are available, I don't know why there are laissez-faire attitude. I don't know why, all of these lapses exist. It's so shameful, it's pathetic, it's painful. I thank God I'm a survivor. I thank God I went through it and I came back alive. I wish for every other woman who's going to go through this journey, go through it and come back alive. I also look forward to when I will be that comfortable to talk about why I was induced at 38 weeks and what was with my child that, got them to have me induced at that time. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope it did help inform someone out there. I wish you the best in everything you're doing in life, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.